Hello ASS, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. Now with all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. Alright, hello everybody. Happy Friday and happy holidays, of course. I can't believe that it is already Christmas weekend coming up. Like, what? I felt like so unprepared for this holiday season, and honestly I felt like I wasn't 100% in the Christmas spirit, but hopefully today's video will get us both in a spooky spirit and in a Christmas spirit. So of course, as you guys can see by the title, today I will be reading some scary stories that were based on Christmas or like around Christmas time.
There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago.
And as you guys have seen from my previous videos, if you guys aren't new to the channel, you guys know I do this kind of scary ghost storytelling for Christmas time, because historically during Christmas time people used to tell scary stories to each other as, I don't really know, I guess that like sort of a pastime, and it was kind of just tradition for Christmas time. And of course that tradition kind of withered away and people left all the scary stories for Halloween time. But here today we are going to be telling some scary stories here. I am going to be reading some stories from an article, as well as I think some from Reddit. So I hope that you guys are excited to hear some spooky stories here today. And thank you so much for spending your day with me. Alright, so we are going to start off with story number 1 here on this article on this website called CafeMom.com. Let's see what this is all about. Just so you guys know, I have not read through any of these stories, so me and you are gonna find out together whether these end up being scary stories or not. So let's check it out. Alright, first one says, I had an unusual visitor on Christmas Day 2008, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Santa Claus passing by my house in Bloomington, Indiana. The day started in typical fashion with the opening of gifts around the Christmas tree. I served an early Christmas dinner for family and friends, and everybody departed by 5 p.m. Oh, that is a very early dinner. Except my sister and brother-in-law who live with me. They were sleeping in a bedroom at the end of the hall with the door open. I went into my bedroom with my dog, Toby, and shut the door securely. I was just dozing off when I heard the latch on my bedroom door open. I waited several seconds for my sister or brother-in-law to ask me whatever they came to say, but there was no other sound. It was almost 7 p.m., so my bedroom was pitch black. I had left lights on in the kitchen and the bathroom, and there were lots of Christmas lights in the living room, so the hallway would have been well lit. I would be able to see whoever was at the door just by lifting my head. I pushed the blankets down and lifted my head from the pillow. Just as I would have been able to see who was in the doorway, an extremely bright light hit me right in the eyes. I shielded my eyes and yelled, "Turn out that fucking light! You're blinding me!" The light immediately disappeared, and I heard the bedroom door latch close. My bedside light is a touch lamp, so I tapped it on and looked around the bedroom. There was no one in the bedroom except me and Toby. Toby jumped off the bed and went to the door without showing any signs of alarm. At first, I was frightened because Toby is a Dutch Shepherd, well trained to be an excellent watchdog and proven personal protection dog. Since Toby was already up, I decided to go let him outside and see what sis or brother-in-law needed. When I went into the hallway, I could see both of them still in bed. I took Toby to the living room to let him outside, and there was nobody there either. So, who opened my bedroom door and turned a spotlight on my face? Like most people, the thoughts of loved ones are always close at hand during the holiday season. When I first went to lie down, I was thinking how happy I was that my small family had enjoyed a pleasant Christmas, but it would have been so much better if my mother and brother had still been alive to share it with us. I would like to think it was my brother's spirit stopping by to say, "Merry Christmas, I still think of you too." I haven't been able to debunk this strange event or find any kind of rational explanation. I'm half afraid that my heart stopped during my sleep, and the light I saw was the bright light people report after near-death experiences. Leave it to me to see the stairway to heaven and ruin my chance at eternal paradise by saying, "Turn out that fucking light." I've made a mental note that if I ever see another bright light, to clean up my language just in case. Scarlett. Oh my god, this is actually really funny and like heartwarming and a little bit eerie, but most likely kind of explainable. Who knows? And I would really like to know the layout of this apartment. Like, was it floor level? Was it up high? Like, maybe it was like a car passing by, like the headlights, that's the first thing I thought of. But having it be like a sign from your family member could also be something very sweet and heartwarming. And of course, if the spirit of your family member is still around, to do so. But I feel like that is a good way to see it, and that way you don't freak yourself out too much. I would have probably convinced myself of the same thing. Alright, that was a good one. So here is story number 2, titled The Returned Relative. It was Christmas time of 1995 or 96 at my aunt's house on a reservation in North Dakota. Some of my family was in the living room watching television. The kids were playing in the rooms or sleeping, and my uncle, aunt, and I were sitting at the table putting a puzzle together. My cousin, who worked at a casino, would come home around midnight or 1 a.m. This night, as she pulled up and was walking toward the house, she looked in the window and saw me sitting at the table, my uncle sitting across from me, and someone standing to the left of me, and someone standing in the corner. So she continued to walk in the house thinking nothing of it. As we were sitting there talking, she looked at me and asked who was standing next to me a few minutes ago, and who was in the corner. I told her no one, and she said, "Yeah, there was someone standing next to you. It looked like your mom, and she was playing with your hair." I have long hair, which I used to wear down all the time. She said this person was running her hand on my hair, like a mother does to a child. It kind of freaked me out, being I was probably only 12 or 13 at the time. My cousin swears up and down that someone was standing over me, rubbing my head and watching me put the puzzle together with my aunt and uncle, and that there was another person standing behind this person. We got around to thinking it was probably her mom she saw. She passed away on her birthday a week before Christmas back in 1992. In my family, we consider our aunts and uncles to be just like our moms and dads. After thinking that it could have been her, it didn't scare me so much. However, we couldn't figure out who the person was standing in the corner. And always around Christmas time, something strange always happens. And we just think it's her visiting us. Oh my god, another very heartwarming story. And the only creepy part about this, honestly, was like, who was the person in the corner? Like, I would like to know that too. Especially like, since there was no description of this person, like, was it a shadow? Was it a figure? Did it look like an actual person standing there? But other than that, pretty wholesome. Who knows if it was the mom or not? It could have literally been anyone, especially since there was no way to actually see this person. It seems like they kind of saw like an outline of this person, and based on the fact that she was playing with her hair, she kind of thought, oh, it could have been your mom or her aunt, right? So creepy. I really liked that one either way. Even though it wasn't like scary, I still liked it. Alright, this third one is called The Haunted Tree. My parents and I lived in a small home that was around 90 years old. The year would have been 1996. We lived there from the time I was 7 years old to the time I was 19. From the very day that we moved in, I felt that I was not alone. One year around Christmas time, I was having a friend spend the night. The heat had just shut off briefly, and she and I were sitting in the living room watching television when the temperature dropped substantially. As I rose to turn up the heat, the Christmas tree began to shake violently. Ornaments were falling off right and left, and she and I were terrified. We ran upstairs and lay down on my bed. My white cat curled up with us, and my door was open slightly. When I gazed out at the dark hallway, I was horrified to see a tall white figure run down the hall. I turned to my friend, and she acknowledged that she had seen the exact same thing. She never spent the night ever again. Oh my god. Girl, that would have been me too. I would have been like, you know what? I like being your friend and all, but I'm not sleeping over at your house with your white demon friend that was shaking your tree all up. That was really, really scary. And also, what even triggered this? And I would love to know if there were any more things that happened like this, because it felt like kind of this was like a one-time thing, and she was like, what the hell? And it just so happened to be around Christmas time. I wonder if there's something, just like how in Halloween, maybe there's something like that for Christmas time. Maybe all the ghosts who have like unfinished business or that miss their family, maybe they come out to say hello during this time of year as well. Who knows? Alright, story number 4. The figure in the recliner. My mother, to whom I was very close with, passed away in 1964 when I was 17 years old. I left home that year and moved to Ontario from Nova Scotia. In 1969, I met a girl whom I will call Karen, and we got married in March of 1970. In December of 1971, we were expecting our first child. We were living in a small 1.5 bedroom bungalow. There was a fireplace in the living room. My wife and I loved the fireplace, and we had it lit every night. It was Christmas Eve 1971, and we had just finished putting the gifts under the tree, and a nice fire gave off a beautiful glow. On the tree, one string of lights, which was supposed to flash, had stopped several days before. It was 5 minutes to midnight when the fireplace suddenly just about went out, and the string of lights started to flash, and the other lights stopped flashing. My wife and I were sitting on the floor, and it had become very chilly in the room. I looked over to my lazy boy chair, and a figure was sitting there. My mother with a big, beautiful smile on her face. My wife, who had never met my mother, said she could see the same thing. This ghost never spoke, but she just kept looking at me and my wife and smiling. At 12 midnight, the fire in the fireplace started up again, and the lights on the tree stopped flashing, and the others started flashing again. I looked over in the chair, and the ghost was gone. No matter what I did to those Christmas lights, they never flashed again. Oh my god. All of these are like slightly making me more emotional than scared, honestly. I was like, I thought we were supposed to be getting scared here for the majority, but okay. I don't have an issue with it. I'm just saying that a lot of these are so wholesome and kind of mind-boggling, because I'm just like, the way I would be freaking out more than anything, it wouldn't just be like a little like, oh, look at that, that's the ghost of my mom in the recliner. I would have been like, y'all are not gonna believe this, like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, like that kind of thing, you know. I feel like it was probably something that he's like lived with for so long and has told a million times to people that it's kind of just like, yeah, that's what happened. Like, I don't know what to tell you, it's the truth. But good story nonetheless. Touching and a little bit scary, only because I would not know what to do with that. Even if it was my mom, I still would have been like what's going on, you know? All right, so story number 5, the ghostly Christmas choir. On Christmas Eve night 1978, at about 3 a.m. in Klamath Falls, Oregon, I was suddenly awakened by a choir singing. The house was a new construction, miles from the nearest church. I strained to hear any words that I could understand or a tune that I could identify, but I could not understand the language or tune. I did get a feeling of angelic exaltation, reverence, and gladness of heart. This was truly a heavenly choir lifting their voices on high, singing Hosanna in the highest in an unknown tongue, without accompaniment of instruments. I examined the television, but it was turned off, as was the radio. I explored outside, but the singing was not heard outdoors. The way the countless male, female, and children's voices entwined together, the tonals going from operatic highs to the deepest bass voices in perfect harmony. It must have lasted about 10 minutes, but it was touching for an eternity. Girl, what? Also, like, how would you even react to this? Like, the fact that she is admiring the beauty of this singing more than anything. She's like, I don't know where it's coming from. All I know is that it sounds fucking beautiful. That's basically what she said. She's like, I don't know. It's like something I'm hearing inside of my head. There's some ghost singing in my house. I don't know what it is. Beautiful. She's just complimenting the heck out of these people. But those are the 5 stories here from CafeMom. I like those. More on the heartwarming side, but still like ghostly, spooky vibes, okay? Alright, so let me pull out my Reddit now. Alright, so this one is from Reddit, and it is our 6th story here on this video. This is the most stories I've ever done, but it's my treat to you. It's my Christmas gift to you guys. Okay, I'm done. Alright, this one says, I was about 16. It was Christmas Eve and snowing heavily. My parents and myself were sitting in the living room with the Christmas tree lights on, having eggnog and opening up my stocking gifts as was our tradition. We suddenly heard the door knocker banging really loud 3 times. We see no one at the window, but my dad opened up the door and looked down. There was a bloody black cat lying across the threshold across the snow. What was fucked up was there was no human footprints in the snow, no tire tracks, and logistically there was nowhere and no way that we would have not seen anyone if they put the cat there. It was still alive, so we shut the door and left it there, and it was gone in the morning. Not LOL. My family and myself, oh my god, I was about to say, my family and myself are huge animal lovers. Of course we took it in and made it comfortable. It was a young male that was not fixed and had been in a terrible fight. A few days later, we took it to a vet and he recovered nicely. The weird thing is, aside from the knocking and no footprints in the snow, was my mom gave it to a friend of ours that lived down the street. About 4 or 5 months later, the cat, now happily part of the family, woke them all up by howling and screaming, just freaking the fuck out. Turns out an electrical fire had started in the garage, and one of the cars was also on fire. They all woke up and everyone was okay, and the car didn't blow up, and only the garage was damaged. But they were very lucky in general, but especially because there was all kinds of flammable stuff in the garage. Initially they called him something stupid like Shadow, but then they renamed him Clark after Superman, lol. He was a really nice cat and lived to be pretty old. Oh my god, this freaking cat saved this family's life. Okay. And I wonder if the cat knocked. I wonder if the cat was the one that knocked and was like, help me, I am dying, like I need somebody to do something. I feel like maybe this cat knew stuff and knew how to do stuff. And then that story was by McSabby D. Alright, so on to our 7th story. This one says, first Christmas after my grandpa died, I was 17 and still very confused on how to handle the shit show of emotions I was having. Christmas morning, I was sitting on the floor with my brother opening presents when we noticed 2 cards tucked in the tree. I opened the one with my name on it, and it was in my grandpa's handwriting. All it said was, "Love you, Peanut," which was his nickname for me. He had passed in August and had never given me a card for Christmas in my life. My mom refuses to acknowledge this happened, but my brother remembers it as well. Up until about 9 years ago, there was a picture of me holding the card. But when I finally dealt with the grief I shoved down, the picture vanished. Oh, dude. That was definitely like a little bit of a ghost nod. And I feel like that's probably why the picture was no longer there. It was like a little moment that Grandpa got to do something for her and then was like, all right, that's it, goodbye. Just wanted to let you know I was here, that kind of thing. That was a little bit sad. It was sad and touching, but I liked it nonetheless. A very good story. All right, story number 8. It was Christmas Eve and I was 14. We had a lot of snow, but I wanted to ride my horse, so I went to the stables and saddled him up. I always tied him to my parents' porch when I rode up to the house. The stables were about a mile away, but I was used to the walk up and back. I was getting ready to take him back when one of my friends came walking up and I gave her a ride to her house. On my way back, my horse wanted to run, so I let him. We came upon my sister's friend and I was going to give her a ride home, but my horse wouldn't stop. I laughed and said sorry and figured he'd stop when we got to the house, but he didn't. He went straight down the driveway and out into the road. I started to get scared, so I was pulling on the reins pretty hard, to the point I was standing and using all of my strength, and he didn't even slow down. I could see cars going through the crossroads and he was galloping full bore with no intention of stopping. He tried to jump a brand new Ford LTD. Back then, cars were boats. He hit it chest high and I was tossed down the road. He did a perfect somersault and slid on his rump past the intersection. I was wearing a thick coat and 2 pairs of jeans, so no road rash for me. I landed on my left wrist and crushed it, but I survived. The horse had road rash on his rump, but was fine other than that. A policeman was parked at the intersection and saw the whole thing. He couldn't get a hold of the ambulance service because they were out to lunch, so he drove me over to the ambulance driver's house, and I sat in their living room with their kids side-eyeing me and waited for them to come back after finishing their lunch. Yeah, nothing paranormal, but an interesting Christmas story. Yeah, very strange and intense for sure, because what even caused the horse to do that? Especially when he had already picked up one of your friends and normally took them home, and then the second friend, he was like, no thank you, I'm gone, and like just started running off. That is pretty interesting. At least there was definitely a good ending to that and nothing bad happened. But interesting that they ended up going to like the EMT's house and waiting for him there. I wonder how small of a town this would be. I figure like that's strange for me, but if it's somewhere like remote, like in the countryside, I would understand why they could find it easier to drive over to somebody who's a medic instead of waiting for like an ambulance to take her to the hospital or something. Alright, then story number 9. During the 80s, the family had a Christmas party, which ended late in the wee hours of the morning. My mom and her cousin were taking the trash outside before they went to sleep, and they saw that their neighbor across their house was sitting by the gutters and smiling at them. She waved hi, and the girl smiled and waved back. Then her cousin shook her head and said, "That's not neighbor's name." She then realized that their neighbor had shoulder-length hair and this girl in front of them had long ankle-length hair and was wearing a long white sleeping gown. They both started screaming and ran back inside the house. The next morning, they learned that their neighbors were not home. They were spending Christmas in the province. Not sure if it was really a ghost, but here in the Philippines, it would be so uncomfortable wearing a long sleeping gown since we're in a tropical country. Okay, that was definitely creepy, and that would totally make sense because if it wasn't your neighbors, obviously they were gone, but why was there some random person sitting in front of their house by the gutters? Obviously that makes no sense either. In the middle of the night, by themselves on Christmas, sketchy, and definitely spooky for sure. Alright, so this will be, I think, the last one maybe. If there's, let me see how many more. Yeah, I think this will be our last one. This will be number 10. And it says, I remember one Christmas Eve night when I was 8 or 9, and me and my family went to bed after meeting with relatives. I was laying in bed just anxious for the next morning, and I was unable to sleep. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep but couldn't. This wasn't unusual for me as I normally couldn't sleep well as a kid. I still have some sleeping problems today. So I just lay there until I got tired or the sun came up. Well, after a while, a loud scraping sound came from my roof. It sounded like someone dragging a long piece of something hard all the way across from one side of the house to the other. I woke up and went to tell my parents. When I went into their room, they both got up because I was being loud because I was scared. They said they didn't hear anything and told me to go back to bed. The next day, there was debris from the roof in our yard. Still to this day, I will never know what went across our roof. I always hate when there's a child or something involved and then like you go tell your parents and they're like, I didn't hear anything. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, obviously they were asleep up until they came into the room to be like, hey, I heard something in the roof. So like, how in the world would they have even heard it? Obviously, if they were like dead asleep, they weren't gonna wake up from that. And I'm guessing because of this person like going into the parents' room like loudly and it's face to face, obviously they would be awake from that, but not from like a noise, or depending on how loud it was. Obviously it was loud enough for him to realize that there was something up there and that it was being dragged from one side to the other. So it was loud enough for him to hear it. And, you know, it would be possible for the parents to get woken up from that. Unless it's one of those things where only children can hear it. It was like Krampus or something up on the roof. Some other creature. Maybe somebody trying to get away, jumping up on roofs, who knows. And something eerie to have happen on Christmas. Anything that has to do with paranormal or like real life situations, nobody wants to go through it, that kind of stuff on Christmas, right? Whatever it was, either way, it was something that scared this person enough to be like, what the hell? And then for sure after this, they were not waking up or they were not going to sleep after this. But alright guys, that is going to be the last story. Please let me know what you guys thought about these. I found them very fun. As much as they weren't like super scary or anything like that, I still found them pretty heartwarming and just fun to read, and it makes you think about just these kinds of stuff during the holidays, like the people that are no longer in your life that you feel like the holidays won't be the same without them anymore. And what would your reaction be if you got the chance to see them briefly or like get some kind of sign that they are still with you or still visiting you once in a while during these special moments? Like, what would that make you feel like? And what would you even do in those situations, right? And there are way more things that have happened to people during Christmas time. Lots of different horror stories, not only about the paranormal, but just life in general, because there's people out there that just do bad things or have bad intentions, and there will always be stories for people to tell during the holiday season. People go a little bit stir crazy during these times and they act up. I know that's for sure. A lot of different crimes and a lot of different things happening during this time of year. But all I know is that you guys all out there need to stay safe and be with your families. Stay indoors. You don't gotta go out and do anything. Just be cozied up in your house, exchanging gifts, talking, laughing, having fun with your family members and your friends. That is really what it's all about. Even if you didn't get the most amount of presents this year or anything like that, it's just kind of one of those reminders where family really is like the most important part of it. The people that you love are the most important part of it, and just being able to spend time with them. And none of that materialistic stuff even matters anymore. Once you are older, you know, that's usually kids, of course. They're gonna love their toys and their stuff and gonna love opening up all of the presents. But ultimately, it really is just about being with the people that you love. And yeah, guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I just hope that you all have a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Well, I think I'll end up posting another video before the end of the year, but I'm not sure yet. But if I don't post next Friday, just know that I wish you a Happy New Year, and I hope that you have all the blessings in 2024. stay safe, everybody. I know there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now, and it's all very sad. And just realize how blessed you are every single day, just for having the basic necessities every single day of your life, having a roof over your head, food to eat, coming home safely every day to your family and your loved ones. And that's really all that we can ask for of this life, is just to be comfortable and safe with our loved ones. And yeah, sorry, I'm babbling for way too long now. The holidays always get me like this. It's like a very bittersweet time of year for me, but I hope that you guys all have an excellent time with your loved ones, as I said. Okay, I'm just gonna be repeating myself now, but if you did make it all the way to the end of this video, you guys make sure to comment a little present emoji. That way I know who stayed all the way to the end, because not a lot of people stay to this point, and I really do appreciate it, all of you guys who stay this long and watch the entire video. And me and you are definitely besties, okay? And before I do end today's video, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. As always, I really do appreciate it, and it really makes my day. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. Alright guys, hopefully I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.